But I also thought that Ben in particular looks incredibly improved on this Persephone pick. He was landing his ultimates consistently, Bone Rush consistently. There was a point in this game where he goes into a team fight, he's the first person to die on the Renegades, and he gets a triple kill post-mortem because that's just what Persephone brings. And it just felt like Obey didn't really have a way that they wanted to engage these fights consistently. Sometimes they were going for fights that just weren't working out, or they weren't fighting over anything in particular. And every single time, Renegades got the better end of it.
They did, man. The Renegades had the tools necessary. I thought Lasbra played really well on this Erlong Shen, for what it's worth, in that mid-game. And remember, there was an early fight in this game where Ducky and Variety both rotated into the fight. And even though Ducky had initially more value, Varieties later on started looking better for them with this Guan Yu and was able to set up for a lot of good stuff. And as I said, Lasbra was a big part of this too. You don't lose a lot of games with Jake's going 2-1-13 on Sobek either. That's pretty nuts that he was able to go undying for the most part, except for the one, and set up so much for this team. This looks like Renegades playing well. And maybe not playing well. There were a lot of stuff in this game, Mifflin, to me that felt like maybe it didn't have sort of the cohesive or clean nature we were used to, but Renegade was able to win out, even if that was the way the game was going.
Yeah, the only time I really thought that Renegades were kind of on different pictures as a team was when Variety was going for some of these solo dives where he just hops on Epona, goes deep into the back line or into a tower alone, and just kind of dies. But luckily he drags Obey out of position and sets up for the rest of Renegades pretty well in some of those engagements. But it's not the cleanest playstyle from either team there. I think that we can expect a lot more in Game 2. And we have to remember that P's and B's in Game 1 were very interesting. It was essentially 6 target bans coming through immediately instead of addressing the meta. So I think that they've learned a lot, both teams, of what is going to get prioritized when the favorites are banned out. And if anything, I think Renegades learned that if Obey wanted Yamoja, they would go towards Yamoja. So, I mean, Bobby wasn't an issue on this Ymir going 0-7. But if they want to, they could decide to ban that one out. And then where's Bobby going to go from there?
It was the opposite. He was the source of a lot of the early pressure there for Renegades, was getting those kills into Bobby. Let's move into those picks and bans then for game number 2. You highlighted how interesting those first ban phases were. I mean, Yamoja made it all the way around to the second round of bans, I believe, and then Renegades thought, let's ban it. And also see if we can try and limit some more of this God pool. And as you highlighted, maybe they don't even need to worry about that. Some of the things that did make it through that obviously got to think about, the Sobek was top picked by Renegades, and Jake looked excellent on it. The Persephone from Venenu was obviously nuts. He was outputting so much damage there as well. So some of the ones that I think are a little bit more traditionally highly valued deserve to be contested in this matchup, and we'll see if those get banned a little bit earlier.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Obey's misplaying if they let Persephone through here. And that's not something I've said about anyone banning against the Renegades until today. It was just now that Ben proved to me that he is finally comfortable on this pick, and now it's an absolute threat that needs to be addressed in the future. I haven't seen the exact same from Yamoja, from Awesome Jake, or Inbound, so I don't think we really have to worry about that pick going forward. But so far, we're looking at largely the same. A bunch of targeted bans coming through here. Renegades targeting out the Ra and the Arachne, targeting Wolfie and Sino in turn. Ratatasker getting banned out by Obey, a direct shot at Lasbra. I'm thinking we're going to see some adjustments potentially in the picks, maybe not the bans.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Obey would take this second pick here again. They like the option to potentially counter pick and to get those 2 in a row after the first pick goes away. Now already we're seeing our first adjustment though. Lasbra's Erlong Shen from Game 1 has been banned away. Obey take that away in their second ban slot. So now at least Lasbra going to go somewhere else in the jungle. He won't be able to play the Ratatosker. He won't have this Erlong Shen. There's still a lot of other strong meta picks, but Lasbra has looked best on these early game assassins. Even Pele comes to mind for me in that category. So maybe he can fall back to that pick or something of that provides similar value, because he likes to get involved right away with his patented cringe ganks, as you like to call them.
Yeah, I mean, I like to call them that because they are that. They're cringy gangs. And he did it in that last game as well. Rotates in at level 3, shuts down the duo lane while they're still level 2. But this is a nice adjustment from Obey. Don't allow Lasbra to be comfortable on that Erlang. Make sure that Persephone gets addressed immediately on. And now we're going to see whether or not Renegades have been working on the Yamoja as they have been the Persephone. But instead, go back to the Sobek. Awesome Jake looks phenomenal on this pick. A huge support diff in Game 1. Why not run it back?
I like this a lot too. Obey, having to ban away Lasbra and Venenu's picks from last games, don't have a chance to make adjustments towards this Sobek, so that does get to go to Awesome Jake again. Meanwhile, they continue to ban some targets towards both Sino and Wolfie by taking away the Raw and the Arachne, and then just a general Kuzenbo ban, but you definitely do want to limit what Inbound can play, so that gets to affect that too. So this puts Renegades in a pretty good spot. Tsukiyomi goes the other way for Obey. I do think that Sino looked good on this. They're actually going to grab the same two top picks, the Rom for Wowie and the Tsukiyomi. And Renegades now have to come up with some adjustments. They can't go right to this Persephone, so they got to get something else valuable for Venenu in this slot. And looks like it's going to be the Hopwa. I mean, this could be jungle too, but I don't know. That doesn't really feel like Lasper to me. I think this might be for Ven.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's likely for Ven as well, and it's got some decent counter matchups. Kusari Gamma is going to be very hard to land with Water Spout available, or even just a Crushing Wave. That Guan Yu likely going to Variety in the Soul, and he absolutely loves this pick. But here's something I've noticed about Sino. It seems like every single week he comes in with his new flavor of the week pick. Sometimes it's the Arachne, sometimes it's the Nike, this week it's the Tsukiyomi, and then he will run that pick until it finally gets banned out. Someone's going to eventually ban it, and then he's going to pick his next one. He's going to run it as long as he can. He almost never tries to make an adjustment mid-set, so it doesn't surprise me that we see him going towards the Tsukiyomi here. But this Thoth pickup from Obey, a pick that's been having a bit of a resurgence recently, I'm not sure how well it's going to fit into Wolfie's playstyle, especially with this Tsukiyomi. Not really going to have much peel coming out of your jungler here, but it's a lot of damage, and it's got a decent matchup in a Hebo. You can at least poke him out in mid.
Well, in a lot of ways, he's just better than Ra, which is one of Wolfie's key picks, right? I mean, he has that same follow-up at the Searing Pain, more charge up for that big damage, but if they're lining that CC up properly, then it should work, even if they have to fire it a bit early. Has more safety with the dash than Ra does as well, though obviously doesn't provide that same healing and buff that Ra does off that 3. So I kind of like this one here for him, and they're going to take this opportunity to start going towards Ven. They do not think this Hebo is for the mid, because they're banning away this Morrigan. Maybe they think the Hebo is like a flex, and that if too much gets banned, they can take it away, but they're making sure this Morrigan doesn't end up in Ven's hands.
Yeah, I mean, it's smart to hedge your bets there a little bit, but I would be surprised if Obey don't try and target out the jungle with this next ban, and it is going to be Nemesis coming through here.
Splitting the difference.
I would prefer to see Pele, or maybe even a Thanatos, just this early game pressure, Robin, something like that, just so you can't have Lasra running the map from level 3 onward. But instead it is going to be Nemesis. I think it might have even been a little bit nicer to have that Nemesis get picked up, just because Tsukiyomi has a fantastic counter matchup into her, being able to disarm. If she can't shield the stun, it will immediately knock it off and do a ton of damage as well. But so far, good P's and B's from both teams. I think Renegades may have come out just ever so slightly ahead here, because they're playing to their strengths. Variety on a comfort pick, Jake on a comfort pick. Whereas Obey, as far as comfort picks go, I think it's really only this Rom for Wowie.
Well, Renegades with their ban take away the Wukong away from Ducky over there, which I think is smart. That Wukong was doing well for them. And they're going to ban the emoji again, so they'll give Inbound the chance to take this Amir once more if he wants it this time around, where the Sobek, the Kuzenbo all take off the table, the emoji as well. So he might end up dropping down to it, might even grab the Hercules in this slot if he wants to get aggressive. But Renegades have some chance to provide us some clarity with their next pick too. If they do pick up an Assassin, we know for sure that Hopwa is going into the middle lane, and we won't have to worry about that one. And then we still need to see what it is they want to get for Barracuda. Really, no attention's been paid to him. So if he wants to go right to that Jing Wei this time around, he can.
He can. This Fafnir pick, man, throwing me for an absolute loop. We know that Inbound loves Ymir. Sure, he had a bad performance in Game 1, but this is a better draft for Ymir to get picked into. Guan Yu, if he goes into the ultimate, he has a very hard time turning. If you juke it out, Ymir can separate it with the wall. Sobek, separate with the wall. Hebo Crushing Wave, that doesn't go through walls. There's so many things that he can immediately counter out with just one ability that I'm surprised he's not willing to go back to that comfort pick. But speaking of a little bit of spice, the Barabog coming through, I think that's what we all agreed to call it there, the Chernakuda. I like Barabog more. I like this pick. The global is going to help him maneuver throughout the map. He's got decent counter matchups. If Fafnir transforms near him, my man can just hide inside a wall until his team gets there. It's good for a counter dive as well. I think this could definitely work out.
I think so too. The Chernakuda very, very strong. Now, I know that inbound, he had a clip going around recently, I don't see what the issue is there, Biff, where he stated that the Chernabog was at the very least not very fun to lane with. I don't know if that's the same thing as thinking it's a trouble pick or a bad pick, but we'll get our chance to see how he does up against it, and this set could be aggressive as well once it has some items online. Though I don't know if this necessarily feels like Lasbra to me. I mean, it is something that can get in there and mix it up a little bit, but not necessarily someone that gets involved right from minute 3, though I certainly can have some cringe cakes. And King Arthur, talk about resurgences, you mentioned that earlier with Thoth. This god is continually getting picked, and I think he is back to stay. This guy is just as scary as he always was.
Yeah, with Glad Shield getting that nerf, King Arthur really fell off the face of the planet, but with Stonagaya getting buffed recently, it kind of makes up for that sustain, gives you decent matchups there, and now he's still the absolute lane bully that he's always been. His ultimate is always up, if not the empowered version, the weaker one, which is going to set up for ganks incredibly well. But I think you're right to highlight this set for Renegades. I'm worried about how well he's going to be able to get involved. It doesn't scream Lazarus to me either. It's not that exact same playstyle. Sure, it's burst damage, and he's got a similar level of mobility, but it's not. It doesn't play out like the Pele. It's not that exact same, like, just hold W key and work it out. It's a very mechanically demanding god as well. Renegades are lacking a little bit this time in terms of frontline, at least compared to Game 1. We'll see how that pans out.
Even curves out a little bit differently. Renegade's going to be reliant, I think, on this Guan Yu to get him started, but how will Obey bounce back? Let's find out here in Game 2.
Well, here's the bad news, Gormizer. The desk is wrong about 2 things. One, it's Venenu on set in the mid lane, not the Hebo. Lazarus will be playing the Hebo out of the jungle. And it's never going to get called Barabog again. I hate it, and I never want to hear it. So that's the other thing they may be wrong about. I want to know what your thoughts are, though, Gore, on this set out of the mid lane. I was for sure it was Hebo mid, set jungle, but it's the opposite.
I would have absolutely agreed with you just because of the history, I think, of these players. But at the same time, you know, I'm going to bring up maybe not the best comparison, but Paul as an example, who was playing set mid a few times. Maybe that's something that Venenu has seen and decided to try and emulate for himself here. And I think it works well with the Hebo. Again, it's all in on damage. It's going to be interesting to see how it handles a Thoth, though. I think the clear on the side of Obey is definitely going to go that way. Maybe requires a little bit more attention in the mid lane, but he brings all of the things that were just highlighted. We've also seen him in solo lane do really well. Late game, he's going to be a menace. He just needs the farm, and mid, it's one of the best places to get that farm online.
Absolutely. So definitely some merits there. Jake with an early attempted invade on the Harpy. 1 level behind here, so you got to be careful about the re-engage from inbound and Wowie. A couple shots going wide, so Jake escapes largely unscathed from that engagement. So maybe I like the mindset. And that's another maybe pivot point here in this game, Gore, as inbound finds a stun onto Barracuda and then the disarm. And exactly what we see there is that this Chernabog is an interesting pick, but it's seen some play with Snoopy and E United and has some good self-disengage if need be.
Well, it seems like everybody is willing to pick up a fight here right now.
I know, I'm waiting for something to happen.
I'm a little more curious about what's going to happen in the duo lane. I think everything in this lane screams aggression, except for the Chernabog to me. I think he can still do a lot of damage, and that is maybe case in point right there on the inbound. But it doesn't scream, you know, early game, I'm going to kill you dead better than Rom kind of deal. So I'm curious to watch what Bear is going to be able to do. But if Jake keeps setting up kills like this, then you know eventually it's going to work out. Unfortunately, that pluck is going to be just off the mark. They might still be able to find the damage.
Oh, and the stun down onto Jake. One final shot will do it, and inbound's got it. It's the dash away from Barra, and there's another first blood over in the long lane. This time it's Obey that strike first.
And I think this is just going to do well for them. You know, the Fafnir is going to just be not necessarily more aggressive than the Sobek, but safer aggression, right? He doesn't displace himself, much like we just saw Jake in order to get it. If he misses the hammer, he misses the hammer. And also, Rom is going to have early pressure over here. I think this is something WoW should have had last game. I was kind of surprised they didn't. But I think this is going to normalize, right? I don't want to read too far into it the same way I didn't really want to read too far into the First Blood last game. I think it's going to be something that, as of right now, equals a little bit of pressure, but it's not going to evolve into anything too insane. I'm still more concerned about that mid lane than I am anything else for the Renegades, but I've seen it work before, so I can't cast doubts, especially onto someone like Venenu, who I think can make this set work as well.
I know, still so many questions around this set out of the mid lane. They still have to come to fruition. A bit different from Lasbra, not with the early level 2 gank that we so often see over to the long lane, so that's at least a small win for Obey Alliance, and not only do they survive the early onslaught, but they get a kill as well. That's not going to slow down the Renegades, though. They found a pluck onto Wowie, who immediately has to use the beads to stay alive. Well-timed there. Despite the first blood gore, 1 level lead for both of the Renegades long laners.
It's just, I think,
not much,
ridiculous.
but
Yeah, I was going to say not a lot, and it's not really amounting to too much either. I want to see them maybe find something more pressure into the jungle, although right now we know there's nothing up, so we know that they can't necessarily find it. It just feels like they are farming a little bit better, but I wanted to see more of that. Just find a lot more plucks, I think, if you're Jake, and things will be fine.
Oh, and they're going to root him down as well. The shell buys some time, but it's not nearly enough. Barracuda will walk away with that kill. All of this skirmishing over in the long lane, and it's not on ganks or anything like that. It's just the two duo lanes going at it with one another now. Both hunters, at least involved, but Barracuda's the one with the kill.
And being able to get him online a little bit earlier, and like you said, they already had a little bit of a lead, so it's going to, again, leak out a little bit ahead of them. I think I used a little bit too much in that sentence, so I have to stop legally now. But it is that moment where he's just slightly ahead, right? Again, it's not amounting to too much. The big gold difference between these two teams mainly amounts to the first blood bounty that Inbound got, and so that should help him out a little bit. And you can see finishing boots, starting another item, potentially a Stone of Binding there. I think he's going to be able to pick up, but if they can continue farming kills onto someone like Wowie over in the duo lane, then that's going to make him a little bit easier to transition into this mid game, much further ahead, and maybe kind of take a big chunk of that gold lead away.
Wowie just a little bit behind here, likely reaches level 5 with that minion wave at any rate. Variety back on the Guan Yu though, Gore, and it's now going to get ulted on by Sino. The damage there, but well played by Variety to even give himself a chance of a turnaround there. Pulls Sino right beneath that tier 1 tower. Lazarus here as well. But Sino and Ducky likely know that as the blue buffs have respawned, so they won't push any further, though Lazarus can maybe look for a little extra damage. But the Guan Yu was reckless abandon, Gore, in game 1. And maybe the Renegades like that enough to go back to it here for game 2.
I mean, it's been able to create a lot of space for him. Again, there were a lot of things that I questioned in Game 1, but admittedly he did a lot more questionable rotations, I think, from Variety throughout game number 1. I think that's something that we'll have to keep our eye on if he does that again or not. But I do think he brings a lot of pressure, and that's sustained. I mean, it's just insane late game when you could go in, you chunk everybody to like 3/4 half HP, and then Guan Yu says, nope, and just tops everyone off again so they can stay into the fight. It's a little frustrating, I think, if you're Obey. So they'll have to maybe try to handle him a little bit more. So far, they've been keeping him low health, low mana over there on the right-hand side, so they haven't been too stressed about it.
I do like the pivot pick, though, for Ducky over onto this King Arthur. The Sun Wukong, of course, looked good. I mean, Ducky was one we were really singing the praises of on Obey in Game 1, as there is a small engagement over in mid. Venenu, of course, a little extra safety dashes away, but Jake had not received the message, so he plucks in. Has to use the lurking in the waters to disengage, but it's not enough. Wolfie from range with the snipe puts down Jake. Maybe miscommunication there as the Renegades lose another.
I mean, yeah, again, maybe just shaky. Granted, both of the kills, though, have happened onto Jake, which if you're going to have someone who dies early on, you probably want it to be your support, although you look back at Game 1, you ask, Obey that, and they disagree very heavily. They don't want their support dying whatsoever. But that does, I guess, keeping them a little bit in control as of right now, and again, giving them a small gold lead that's now started to escalate into 2,000 in their favor. That's where you can start to build these leads, put a little bit of pressure on the mid, start to look for gold furies, although 8 minutes in, 7 minutes in, it's not going to be enough with Venenu. I think showcasing what I was, I literally wanted to talk about it. I'm glad he gets the kill there. He's going to bring a lot of damage late game. He might not have the same clear as a Thoth. He doesn't have the same long-range ult as a Thoth, but he'll kill you if you leave yourself alone with him. And I think that's something that they're going to have to constantly be worried about here for Obey. There's essentially 2 junglers that are going to jump into the backline, or at least 2 assassin-esque style plays that are going to be able to get back there and delete Wolfie, delete Sino, or Wowie in any given team fight.
I mean, it's what? Warrior Tabai, a mace, and a warrior's blessing, and he just kind of evaporates Sino, though Sino is an assassin. Squishy, of course, in the early game, so if there is a target that's going to die that quickly, likely Sino, Wolfie, or Wowie at least. But still, massive damage nonetheless that obviously Sino wasn't prepared for. Heads up play by Venenu. Now it's Obey Alliance trying to drive. A little bit of the pressure on their own. Red buff respawn, stun down onto Ven. Ultimate from Sino connects, but Venenu has gone beneath the tier 2 tower. Where does Barracuda drop down into the remainder of this fight? It's right behind Sino, who still has a good bit of damage. Dash into the wall, immediately dash back out. Caltrips goes down, but Barracuda picks up the kill nonetheless.
I think Venenu, even if he was trying to get away and unsuccessfully does that, being able to get those tier 2 shots onto Sino makes that a lot easier to go 1-for-1 in terms of the trade, right? And he keeps himself going forward. Doesn't get the assist for it, even though he's the reason that Sino ends up dying. Either way, you're happy with that, I think, if you're set. And Venenu specifically, falling a level behind, you're not too stressed about it. You're just waiting for your late game and all that carry potential that comes with being a late game set. And slowly but surely, he's going to continue closing that gap. Again, I'm looking at him more in comparison to, I think, where Sino is because of the impact he's going to be bringing. Both the jungler here, Lasber, and Vin level up over Sino, kind of keeping pace in terms of items. And that's going to be dangerous as they start to transition into kind of the mid-game 3v3, especially with setup from Jake. I mean, he literally tosses you into a set in a Hebo. That is almost guaranteed death, I think, for everybody other than Inbound and maybe Ducky, if Ducky happens to be, for some reason, caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, not many I'd rather be tossed into less than those two. Almost certain death on the other end of it. Blue buff is respawned. Renegades answer in kind. It's a pluck over onto Sino, and wouldn't you guess it, right back into Lasbra in Variety. Free kill there, but what are you going to trade out in return? Lasbra's taken so much damage. The water carpet will keep him alive for the time being. Variety there for some body block and peel as well. So Renegades get a kill cleanly as of now, but they want a little bit more. Ducky gets plucked back in. Jake now has to tail whip his way out of 3 members of Obey. The snipe rips through the HP of awesome Jake. Venenu has joined the fray, though. He's picked up a kill onto Ducky in this set, flexing his muscles 10 minutes in.
I mean, POV, your Thoth, you hit 2 people with your ult, you still lose the fight. That's Wolfie's experience as of right now. He's still low health. I mean, honestly, Jake, this is not a good call, I think, from the Renegade, or from Obey, I should say, to go back in. That was... I don't know what they were trying to do, and Wolfie, I don't know, you need to be careful. Yeah, you might still be near that tier 2, but if that pluck comes through, that is going to be death for you. I mean, I don't know why they decided to try and go back in there. Renegades still had enough health and obviously enough damage that they're just going to shred you. Obey handing over a few kills that probably shouldn't have happened there.
I'm wondering if Obey are maybe just thinking that the Renegades had completely left, or maybe just left 1 or 2 members behind, but in reality, everyone was still there, so unfortunate to say the absolute least. In Gore, some of these same storylines from Game 1 starting to form here again in Game 2. Barracuda, a couple of early kills on the board. That 2K gold lead completely wiped. Now Renegades back in the lead. Venenu, 3 kills on the board. Remember, it was massive damage from Ven and Barra in Game 1 that helped get Renegades the win. And they have set the stage perfectly yet again here with an early 6-3 kill lead.
And again, getting themselves back in the lead, as you had said, the gold now in their favor, the kills in their favor, levels in their favor, pretty much all around, although mid maybe still a little shaky just because it's a small lead, if any, there for Venenu. But the teamfight stage is where things start to change up. You get a lot of damage from Wolfie, but it comes in bursts and spurts. You get a lot of sustained damage that has its bursts in Venenu. And so he's going to be able to get to the backline consistently, as we've already seen. And he's not really struggling anywhere else in the game right now. He's not worried about the clear. He's not worried about his pressure in mid.
Right.
He's able to stay afloat, no problem. And so any questions around this, especially now that he has Crusher, I think get eliminated. But Obey are going to start up the Gold Fury.
They sure are. The gold lead's still close enough that the Alliance don't feel like they're at that much of a disadvantage. Inbound gets looked at by a couple members of the Renegades over on the left side of the fight. Ducky now realizing Venenu does plenty of damage, is going to have to walk him away. An early Crusher will do that for you. We saw how much damage Venenu did with the Mace and the Warrior Tabi. He's got that full Crusher now, so he's going to be absolutely swinging. Maybe that's just a moment, though, Gore, where Obey pull out that Gold Fury. They figure maybe 1, 2 members of the Renegades poke their head in and might find a pick.
Yeah, I mean, if you are able to get in there and maybe get aggressive the way Obey looked to get aggressive on the duo lane, you could find a pick, but the question is if you have the lockdown. Bear's close to the tower range.
Oh, look at that. Barracuda still takes a good bit of damage here and is going to have to soar right back down, and it's Ducky that gets Barracuda dropped on, but Barra will move into the wall and then right back out. So great disengage from Barra, obviously shining a light on why this Chernobog does get picked. I was wondering if Obey were going to start up this Gold Fury on their disengage there, but Sino without the ultimate. Gore, that's a lot of the engage now missing from Obey.
Yeah, they're going to
oh my
god! An awkward spot, especially like that. I mean, Sino's just gone.
Oh my god, I missed it! I missed all the damage, but Sino evaporates from the battlefield. Ducky tanky enough to re-engage and actually slows down Variety a little bit. Wolfie maybe in range here to do some serious damage. Wowie looking for the snipes. Big cleave damage underneath the tier 1 tower. Looks like Venenu at this point just trying to be the one that peels for the rest of his team. So he'll go down. Wolfie picks up the kill. Variety hanging around. Does not have his ultimate, but Lasbra's close by and he'll survive. And now Jake maybe on an island on his own.
Well, he'll be fine hanging out over here. He's got Barracuda just close enough by that he's going to be safe and nuzzled. And the beard that bear has been growing over here as he's been going in Season 7. But, you know, again, just feeling safe. I think if there's anything that they have on their side of Renegades is that they do kind of feel comfortable. And the gold lead, very similar to last game. It's not really that expansive as of yet. You know, we saw Renegades really blow it up at the end of the game, and that's where it got big, was when they were able to finally win a big fight over in right, get a Fire Giant, and then start the pressure going. Otherwise, they were, what, 1,000 gold up for a majority of it? So I think they're in a very similar spot with similar amounts of control, stealing away jungle buffs, making sure you can't do gold furies. Anything and everything that is finding you any amount of control like that is going to be solid for them. And honestly, we've seen a lot from Venenu. We've talked a lot about his damage, but Lasbra, he's 0-0-5. Out of the 7 kills, he's been a part of 5 of them. And this man is slowly coming online. Hebo is not, again, necessarily picked because his level 3 is great. He's picked because his level 20 is the most ridiculous, or one of the most ridiculous that you can have. But that's not to say that here, especially in the mid-game, as he's starting to get some of his lifesteal online, whether he's going for the Bancroft first or a Typhon's first, either way, he'll be fine. It's going to be a lot of power that comes online. He's already got to do more on top of all that. He's hitting like a truck now. It's just going to get progressively bigger as a truck. Right now it's, you know, maybe like an F-150, later it's an 18-wheeler that is going to be Running you over.
F-150s aren't small. That's a big truck to start with.
They're not. No, that's why it's pretty hard already. Maybe it's more like I just had this Toyota non-brand named truck when I was growing up. Maybe it's more like that. It's still going to hurt.
One of those. The Gold Fury started up here by Obey Alliance. Lurking in the waters is Jake. Wowie will have take to the skies. Barracuda enters in kind. So both hunters out of the fight up in the air, but both of them will drop back down. Lasbra crushing waves his way in, but the Aegis keeps Wowie alive. But here come the dominoes. Renegades start to roll through the damage in the rest of this fight. Sino stays alive, but it's only a matter of time before maybe Variety can collapse upon him. It's a 3 versus 2 on the back end here. Venenu ulted up into the sky by Ducky, but once he drops down, Ducky does the same. A double kill for Venenu on the back end, and Sino, the last man living. Wait, is he gonna die? Variety did it! He takes him down. Variety's laughing. The big brain play. Tell him, Variety. Down goes Sino for the deicide.
That's why. Well, I mean, you just gotta feel bad about that one. Like, there's not much you can say. That's a good... what's the opposite of a tilter, I guess, if you're the Renegades? Like, it's just a mood lifter. If you're Variety, you're insanely happy about that. You get a kill using thorns from 40 feet away, let's call it. There and
still smiling.
You're all the way. And you can't not. I mean, you've got to feel good about that. 7 of the 12 kills on the back of this Guan Yu. It's been treating him really well. And this is the first time, I feel like, since we've seen Variety on this team, that I'm seeing a lot of cohesion from top to bottom. That feels like Variety has truly integrated into it, and that is a good feeling to have, I think, for every Renegades fan out there.
You know what it is, Gore? We're gonna step away from any meaningful analysis. It is purely quarantine beard advantage, because that's where you got my mind going. Everyone on Renegades at least rocking something, and Obey Alliance a little bit behind in that department. So maybe that's the biggest differentiator here. Variety just had simply a better beard than Sino on that small engagement. Now he's gonna get a double stun, a double knockup. Talk about a combo here from the Renegades, and Variety picks up an easy one onto Sino.
Well, you said it, Dave. It's beard diff. Variety's beard, you shave it off, it weighs as much as Ducky does at that point, right? I mean, that's where it's coming forward. Either way, it's looking good for them right now. At 4-0-4, good aggression. Sino is 2-6. Last time I think I highlighted it was Inbound. That was 0-6 on the Ymir, not having the cleanest game. Right now, it really is just coming down to the fact that the jungler here for Obey is not able to get into these fights, and he's not able to stay alive when he is.
Whoa! Here comes Barracuda right in behind Wolfie, deleted. Is Zathoth, and Ducky will fall to a similar fate as well. This one is spiraling out of control quickly. All the damage pouring into Obey. Lasbra will finish off inbound now, and it's the right side Phoenix being looked at. Gore, we are 18 minutes into this game. A right side Phoenix is being sieged down. Lasbra with the double kill. There's still so many towers available, but we're gonna rampage through Wowie as well. Can they walk in and end this game? 18 and a half minutes in, you gotta be kidding me. The Renegades, in potentially sub 20 minutes, walk away with game 2.
I mean, they're looking to try and run it here. You're looking for one of the fastest games. In fact, Dave, I'm going to go ahead and call it out. It is the fastest game of Phase 2 there. It didn't be the year where you saw Sanguine beat E United in under 18 minutes, but the one that was fastest, Space Station, were able to beat Ghost in a 19-minute game a few weeks ago in Week 8. But that was insanely well done. And just kind of out of nowhere. I mean, they just dropped the ball there, came in like it was nothing for the Renegades. Well played from them, and it's just the damage, everything spiraled out of control.
It's one of those, you know, you don't take a fight by the FG. If you lose, the enemy team's going to get it. I guess don't fight by your base 18 and a half minutes in, because if you lose, the enemy team's just going to win the whole thing. So fantastic here from the Renegades. Got to be happy if you're one of them or one of their fans. That wraps up this day in the SPL. We'll take a quick break and round things out on the desk.
I don't think they see it. Life in a trailer, no need for flavors. Cause I'll be laughing when I'm Justin Bieber's neighbor. Always time to second guess, weighs heavy on my chest. But the dreams I have, they stay alive. Cause you know it's ride or die. I've been dreaming, maybe I'm sleeping, losing my teeth, maybe I'm flying for no reason. Ride or die. I've been dreaming, maybe I'm sleeping, losing my teeth, maybe I'm flying for no reason. I've been dreaming, what I believe in. I will get there soon, that's more than just a feeling. Yeah, I've been dreaming. I've been dreaming. Maybe I'm sleeping, losing my teeth, maybe I'm flying for no reason. I've been dreaming, what I believe in. I will get there soon, that's more than just a feeling.
Welcome back to the SPL. What a last game that one was. It gave us everything. We got the Variety Thorns kill standing on the Caltrops. We got the fastest game ever of game number 2 for this one as well. And Renegades come out on top 2-0 over Obey in relatively convincing fashion. And Myth, for me, what's standing out in all of this is that Venenu, he feels like Sasuke with the Sharingan. He's copying everybody's main pick.
Look, man, I'm not going to let you get it twisted. Not here on broadcast. That is Venenu Kakashi of the Sharingan. He's stealing Hurriwin's Yanis. He stole Paul's set. He took Dart as his Hera. He took Shinto's Thoth. Like, this man is all over the place. This is Zabuza Arc Prime mode, and he's popping off.
He's making all of it work, isn't he? And playing it all well. I mean, you and I, we were like, this has got to be the Hebo going to him. No, he pulls out the set. And I think the most impressive play isn't even all the kills that he got, but there's the time where Sino ulted him, and he blinks underneath his own tier 2 and pulls Sino there using Sino's ult. Beninu clearly comfortable in this. This was not an on-a-whim pick. He knows how to play this set and make it work. And here, perhaps the highlight of it all, Variety using the Caltrops to get the Thorns kill. We absolutely love it.
Man, if only we could have got the cam there from Variety. I'm sure my man was grinning ear to ear, cheesing on the camera. I mean, it's hard to break down games like this because it was so absolutely one-sided. That was the fastest game of Phase 2, and somehow Sino still finds the time to die 7 times. Variety goes undying. Barabog, I'm going to say it again, Barabog picks up a 5-0 slash line. It's just clean across the board, and it's a brand new look from the Renegades. We don't see Lazarus on Hebo often. We don't see this set mid from Ben, but they make it work in such convincing fashion.
Yeah, Beninu copied this technique at a dark alley years ago, pulls it out now with complete mastery, ready to go, dude. This is a new Renegades team. This is why we've been kind of like high on this team, wondering who would be the ones down there in that bottom 3 stuck. And it looks like Renegades are creating space now with this win, getting some breathing room between them and Obey and E United. And we expect E United to be continuing to grab some wins later on. But this Renegade team, you got to be worried if you're lining up against them.
Yeah, Obey decided that they might want to creep up just a little bit, and Renegades just kind of stiff arms them down there and says, "No, no, we're gonna maintain our not bottom 2 slot." And man, they're looking good. If we could see that version of Renegades every single week, this top end from them, we wouldn't be worried about their standings. They'd be up there with PK. They'd be on that same rise because the level of play that they brought today was so incredibly high. If they could just narrow this variance just a little bit, this team would be an absolute threat in the league.
This raises our standards for them, right? We know what they can do, but they have to continually show it to us because we know they're capable of it now. And Beninu, the guy we've been spending this whole desk gassing up, is the one that is standing by with Gore for the post-game interview.
That's right, I've got Venenu here, and I'm going to start with maybe the easy one that comes out of it all. I mean, Game 2, as an abrupt end, it seems like you guys have a lot of control. How was everyone feeling coming out of that one?
Yeah, we're all feeling good. We're happy with how we played. I think a big thing for us is we just got to keep our consistency up and show what we did today and just keep it going through.
I mean, if you can keep that up, then that looked amazing for you. What was it really that you changed, specifically from like Game 1 to Game 2, that made things transition so much easier for you? I mean, it seemed like Game 2 was just a walk through the park.
I think we just took a different type of style comp that we wanted to try and use that we don't usually play, so catch them off guard. And we wanted to see how it would work, and it ended up working out really well for us, so we're happy with that. So we'll see what we can do going forward with that.
Well, we've got the highlights for it. We have to talk about this a little bit. I mean, bringing in the set and mid, not something we get to see too often, although we have seen it before. What inspired you to pick this up, and also, how did you do so much damage? You deleted everyone.
Shout outs to Paul, and I just got to watch a bunch of VODs and learn from him. I mean, he was the one who brought it out originally, so yeah, I mean, glad that I could try to pick it up and contest with him.
Well, it absolutely looked good while you were playing it. Otherwise, I mean, right now, I got to look it up as to who you're going up against next. I think you technically have a Ghost Gaming matchup. You're also going to be going up against Space Station here in the near future. So, you know, going from Obey to those two teams, what are your minds on moving forward?
I mean, just taking one team at a time. We got to do our prep for Ghost and do all that stuff. We got to work on our consistency. I think that's been the biggest like downfall of us. So, you know, we have like a Variety or Harry with us now, so he's been a good factor with us, and we're happy to keep working forward. We see a lot of potential in the future with us. Just got to get there and keep our consistency up for sure.
That's right, man. It looked awesome today. Congratulations once again on your win. Thanks for stopping by and talking to me. But we're going to go back to the desk now to go ahead and close out the day.
Well, I am a big Venenu fan and glad to see that dude happy after getting a big win here today. Big things being expected for Renegades, but a tough slate coming up for them with those matches that you mentioned, Goremizer coming up for them. So we'll see if they can find those wins there. Myth, we're coming near now to the end of another day. Ghost get their 2-0 win. I don't think that's much of a surprise, though it did go later. As you pointed out, clearly United were hanging with them but couldn't win it. And then now Renegades finding the 2-0 here up against Obey, a 4-0 day, where at least in the first set the team we expected to win, but I did not expect Renegades to come out of this set against Obey so cleanly.
So cleanly, so quickly, so confidently. I mean, there's so many leads we could drop, adjectives for how Renegades handled that one. Maybe clinically should be dropped in there as well. And now the standings kind of reflected. Renegades have created a decent amount of space there. United and Obey have to fight so hard for any singular win if they don't want to be in this bottom 2 slot, which is going to be hugely impactful moving into Worlds.
And you saw on the schedule there, I want to make sure we cover it one more time, those PK games have been postponed here at this point. So just keep your eye on when we'll be able to get those games actually played, since they're not going to be able to play here this weekend. But still, that means that there are still some excellent sets going to be coming up. So make sure that you do tune in for us tomorrow. We'll be devoting all our attention to the one SPL set that's happening, bringing you 2 sets worth of quality in that one. So again, appreciate your production for bringing us the show. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you're back here with us tomorrow for plenty more of the SPL.